Hi guys, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did a 16 by 20 inch Liquitex Recycled Canvas made out of 10 recycled bottles, and we used our PaintWithBram brushes. They came out fantastic. I love these brushes, and that's not just me saying that because he's my buddy. I actually really like the way that these came out. Only use PaintWithBram brushes and the Bob Ross paint, so get ready to have some fun, and let's do it just like this. Boom! Hey guys, how's it going? It's Paint with Josh. We're back in the studio today. I'm going to show you every single step. So, I went to Michael's. I found a Liquitex Recycled Canvas made out of 10 plastic bottles. So we're going to use this canvas, and we're going to use the PaintWithBram brush set. It's going to be fantastic. I know you all have your PaintWithBram sets, so I figured I would do the influencer thing and try them out and give them a little review, and we'll see how they work. So, let's get our canvases out of our packages, right? I like to show you every single step, so there is no question. You can do the exact same thing that I can do with the exact same stuff that you can get from the store or online. You can go to my Amazon affiliate store. You can get it stuff on my website. There's all sorts of places, right? So we'll get this guy out. We'll put him up here like this. Fantastic. I love these recycled canvases. They're so awesome. So awesome. Now, I like to rest it on the lip of the easel and then crank it down, twist it, hold it into place with friction, right? Now, we need to cover it in our Bob Ross liquid white paint, which is an oil paint. It's a blending medium that goes on. It makes our canvas wet, and when it's wet, we get all of our colors to slide around. So I'm going to take the big old 2-inch PaintWithBram brush, right? That's a fun thing to say. I've never been able to say that before. The PaintWithBram 2-inch brush, and we're going to start to apply our liquid white. Now, I like using liquid white on a white canvas because you can get all of these cool colors to blend through with our white paint. This feels really good, by the way. It feels really sturdy in my hands. But you can get all the colors to blend with all of this white, and you don't really have to do a lot of mixing prior to putting it on your canvas. You know what I mean? You don't have to mix your colors up. You can do a lot of stuff right here on the canvas. And all we gotta do is make it nice and wet throughout the whole thing, and then we'll have a good wet surface to paint on, right? That's all you need. Taking wet paint and applying it to a wet surface. So if you already know how to do this part, make sure you hit the like button, and before you scroll through, subscribe if you don't already subscribe, and share this with your friends. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love it. Now, very nice, very gently, very smoothly across our whole canvas, and this PaintWithBram brush is fantastic. I already love it. Looks like we haven't even used it yet. So, we've got our liquid white on the canvas, and I'll show you just how to test, right? To test it, you have enough on there, you just give it a little touch. Let's go in different places. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just like that, they're all about the same white. You can see all the little dimples of the canvas, right? Nothing crazy. You don't want to have anything, you don't want to have it big and goopy. If you can't see your fingerprint, you've got too much on there. Now, let's give this old bad boy a wash. Give this PaintWithBram brush a wash. I might end up calling it a Paint with Josh brush, just out of habit. So if I do, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is a PaintWithBram brush, but PaintWithBram, Paint with Josh, pretty close. I'm used to saying one more than the other. So just in case. All right, but we've all got our PaintWithBram brush sets, and now I'm going to go in with a little bit. I want to do like a cold winter scene. So we've got our Prussian blue, our Phthalo blue, our Alizarin crimson, our midnight black, and titanium white on our 16 by 20 inch Liquitex recycled canvas. If you skipped forward and you missed the beginning, shame on you. Go back, right? And take, ooh, man, these brushes just dump on this color. It's fabulous. Just fabulous. A little of our blue, going to pull it around the edge. Now, maybe we'll get a little of our crimson as well, because we don't want it to be just the same old blue sky painting. So let's take a little of our crimson, kind of mix that in over the blue. It'll make like this purpley sky in different places. And I gotta say, these brushes are pretty fantastic so far. I would continue to use them. I would use them. Right, now we'll go back and blend all of our stuff later, but just so we have a few different colors, it's not all the same blue. Maybe we'll take a bit of that crimson-y, purpley bit, put it right in there. Blend it out, and then maybe along the bottom, we'll just do a little bit of both. Our blue, our crimson, just right on the brush, pulling them towards the center, and then we're gonna leave a little spot right? Leave a little blank area in there. It doesn't all have to be the same. A little bit more blue, just to match the top. And then we'll go take and blend this whole sucker out, right? No one's is ever gonna be exactly the same as anyone else's. How can we all get the same amount of paint on the brush, same amount of pressure on the canvas, right? It's just not possible. So don't worry about it being the same. It doesn't have to be. Now I feel so bad for getting this PaintWithBram brush dirty. But you know, they get dirty. That's what happens with them. Can't just have a nice clean brush all the time, but at least we can tell it's been used, right? They do work pretty well. Now, I'm gonna go in with the same brush. I'm gonna dry it off. Always have to dab it off on a paper towel. Make sure it's not too wet, right? Don't want it to be too wet when we put it back up here. Leaving an open space, a little open space down here, and then we're gonna come into our little middle area and just start to crisscross. I like this brush, it's very soft. Dig it, right? All we're doing, mixing our colors up. They're gonna go across our little light space, but it's gonna remain a little lighter than anything else. Take these guys, all depends on how much pressure back and forth that we mix. This, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, we're gonna have a gorgeous little starry blue sky out there. Now, I like to finish my edges of the canvas, even if you frame it, finish the edges. It only takes a second, and then your buyer doesn't have to worry about buying a frame and matching it to their thing. Just finish the edges, they can hang it right on the wall. Just fantastic. I'm gonna throw, the Bram brush wanted to meet my watch. I'm gonna throw it all over myself. That's all right, that's why we wear our painting clothes, right? Painting clothes and expensive watches right around here. Now, what we're gonna do, crisscross back and forth, just like that, right? We don't have many thick areas of paint left up here. You can see the difference between the blended out area and the non-blended out area. And just like that, I'm gonna go wash my brush again. You don't need to do too much. You don't wanna overwork it. You don't wanna have too much paint on your canvas. You don't wanna have too much in the sky, because we have to continue to add layer upon layer upon layer. And everyone knows, thin paint, right? When we're adding thick and thick and thick and thick and thick, eventually it's just not gonna work anymore. All right, let's grab our PaintWithBram fan brushes. These are fantastic. God, it's beautiful. It smells like a new brush. We're gonna come in here with our white, and just over that white area, well, the lighter color area, right? It's no longer really white because we went across it with our blue paint, but maybe we can just sort of accentuate some little bits of that brightness in there. Pushing our brush around, mixing it up over here, and you'll see it starts to mix with all of that paint instantly. So, why don't we wipe it off? Go back, we'll get a little bit more paint on the brush, and then we'll come back and hit it again, right? So a little bit more, maybe drag our little paint over here, a little bit down there, bang, right? Wherever we have a little bit of white is where it's gonna shine through. Now, let's get that 1-inch PaintWithBram brush out. It seems very soft, like it's gonna make these gorgeous little clouds, and we can even use the little fluffer brush too. I don't want to ruin it. Every time I seem to use a little fluffer brush, it never works out. So let's go with the 1-inch brush first. And we'll see, just with our light amount of pressure, right? If it doesn't start to blend away, push a little bit harder. That's okay. Not everyone's going to use the same amount of light, right? Not everyone's light is the same amount as everyone else's light. We'll come in here. We'll start to push real hard along the bottom. Bing, bang, boom. Get these soft little things happening out there in our sky. You can always go back and add just a little bit more of that white paint onto our brush and just brighten these guys up, accentuate them out a little bit further. All you gotta do, come back in, a little less pressure so they don't blend away. That's it, a little less. Come to the side, woo! Softly, right? They appear a lot brighter here than they do out here because they're mixing in with all that blue paint. And in here where we left that lighter area, there's less paint, so they remain a little bit brighter. All right, we'll come in like this. A little softly. The more we mix it, the more it blends away. Just like that. Got a cool little sky out there. Very cool little sky. Now, what if we came across with a palette knife? Just a little palette knife. And let's put a far off little contrail out there. Little thing. All you need. A little bit of white on your palette knife. And now let's use, I'm going to use anyway, that very, very, very soft PaintWithBram brush. Just go a couple this way. Just a couple little bits, and then we're gonna go and just drag. See how far we can get it just with our very light pressure, very soft brush. Woo! That's very cool, right? Not trying to push it so hard that we even cover all of the bristles. Man, that's nice. I'm sad to get that brush dirty at all because it's so soft and it's so nice. Now we're really gonna have to dry it off. Really gotta dry it off well. All right. Now let's mix up our palette knife, get a little of our blue, black, and crimson, and let's throw just a gorgeous little mountain scene off there. It's a little blue, little black, little blue, little crimson, scraping them up, mixing them up into this nasty mess. It's quite a mess, right? Get it up in there. All you need, scrape up a little bit like that, come up into here, and just wherever you want to put it. Kapoosh! Just skadoosh, wherever you want. Over here, over there. It comes down, there's a whole nother hump. Got this guy over there, maybe he's starting to float off a little straighter. Covering everything up, scraping off the excess paint, otherwise it'll grow too far. How far do you want your mountain to move? Depends on how much paint we leave up there, right? Just mushing it all off of the knife. Now we'll take our PaintWithBram 1-inch brush and we'll come in here like that, just very lightly initially, right? Seeing how far that paint's gonna drag. And then we go, you know what? All right, let's drag it a little softer so it doesn't go so far on this guy. Maybe we take this hill and we come in a little bit over here. Maybe we push a little harder and we change the direction of that little ridge right there. That looks kind of cool. That looks kind of cool. Change it down like that, right? Come back in here and grab up this guy. Drag him down a little bit further. Maybe he's kind of straight back in here. It's coming straight down to this little cliff and then, right? We change directions. Back over there, maybe it came down, same thing. It hit and it slid down into this whole thing. You can just build your mountain however it comes out to you. Doesn't have to look like mine, right? However you want it to come out. Maybe we take this guy and we pull him off down here and we pull it down over there and we're just putting down a little shadow. That's it. All depends on where we pull our brush, depends on where our little highlights and little shadows will end up being. Let's take a little darker paint. Maybe we'll come down over here just a little darker. There we go. You start running out of paint because this paint constantly is blending in with that liquid white that's underneath, right? And so that liquid white is trying to change everything into a lighter color like it is out here, further away in the distance. Now, let's go mix up a little of our snowy paint. I like to use a little of our titanium white, maybe about 2/3 titanium white, 1/3 of that phthalo blue, and you make this awesome little sky blue color, just like that, right? But that's a little too bright, so we need to take a little bit of our dark color that we use to create our mountain and mix that guy in just like this. Kind of dulls it down a little bit. Doesn't need it to be the same color. Obviously, it has to stand out, but we don't want it to be too blue or too bright either. It needs to be a little shadowy gray mix. And maybe our little shadowy bits are going to come back on the inside of our ridge down here. And you can see by the angle of my hand, we just come up and touch and then float it down. And as they float down, they start to break. And when they break, they look really cool, right? Depends on how we angle it. If it comes straight down, it's gonna look like it's coming straight down. You want it to go off to the side, you can look like it's going off to the side. All depends on how we pull it with our knife. If you're not pulling it in the right way and then you're wondering, well, why doesn't it look like that? Well, you gotta pull it in the right direction, right? You have to. Maybe stick a little off the backside of that cliff over there, up into there, just dragging it down, dragging it down. Very cool, got a neat little mountain, just our snowy side. Now we'll grab up a bit of our white paint, probably about 3 times the amount of white paint that we grabbed before, and just a little squeeze of the pile that we had mixed up before, and now we'll mix it into this super, super bright blue, right? It's not just pure white. Don't take your pure white, don't be lazy. Don't get your pure white way out there as far away from you as you can. You gotta mix it down just the slightest bit, and it's going to look pure white, so as we come in, we scrape it up, and we come off the front side of our little mountainous hills over here, right? We'll start to light it up in different ways. It doesn't have to be the purest and purest of bright whites. Gotta have that little twinge of blue back in there, right? Maybe down in here, we come up and we just come real high up, these little spires, like coming up that way. Rubbing it on and then dragging it out. Drag, 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 drag. How far do you want your snowy mix to go down? How far do you want your light to show, right? Maybe there's only just a little touch of light on the edge of our little cliff over there. Just a little bit. A little bit got lit up. Maybe a little along the top too, just along those shadows, starting to light up a little, because it can't just be a solid wall of shadow and a solid wall of light. Gotta have a little mix of both. All depends on how we pull it out down around the bottom, which way it's sliding, this, that, and the other. A little bit more of our blue down there, and you got a really cool, jaggedy looking mountain. I like this guy. Very neat, very neat. You pick up a little bit more of that light as it's sliding down that way, right? Doesn't all have to be the same every time. And take our 2-inch brush, sorry, I'm gonna get that hair out of there. And then we're just very lightly gonna drag across our paint in the opposite way that we went down. So if we came down this way, back up that way, right? This guy would come up just a little bit, just barely touching. You don't even want to touch it hard enough to leave any brush marks, just so softly. All right, so we came down this way, so what do? We go up this way, very light, not trying to drag any of the paint, just trying to mess it up just a little bit. We come back and we take that brush and we start a smacking. And as we smack, we're dragging down like a typewriter. We come up, we grab a little bit lower, drag down a little bit lower, but you can see my angle's changing like a clock. The further we go down here, the more that we're vertical, and then what happens? We have to change direction and start going down this way. Each time tapping it, dragging a little bit of that light down. Tapping it, a little bit of light down. Tapping, a little bit of light down. Each time. Then you come in here, you give it a good little mix up in your little cloudy area, and then swipe it back up into your thing, same way like a clock, each way around the mountain, all the way until you're done. These PaintWithBram brushes are pretty good, I gotta tell you. This is not a paid advertisement, this is a legit review, and so far, these are pretty awesome brushes. So, let's get them cleaned off. All right, we'll get the brushes clean, be really cool, and then, definitely gonna be using these brushes all the time. Not solely PaintWithBram brushes, but they'll go into my rotation of brushes, is what I'm saying. Let's go back right into our dark mix, because I have some right here on the palette. Don't even have to mix any more up, which is odd, because you guys all know I normally never have enough on the palette. Now, I love making trees with a brand new brush. It's nice and sharp. Look at those edges. Those tip tops of our trees are gorgeous. Except, as we all know, the further you go, the more the brush head splits apart. Doesn't matter if it's a PaintWithBram brush or a Bob Ross brush or Gap Doctor or, Master's Touch, whatever you got. Right? Doesn't matter. They're all going to split apart the more that we hit the canvas. They're all going to drop bristles, right? No brush is going to be perfect every single time. There we go. But these ones so far, I've got no complaints. Bram chose a very good brand and a good manufacturer, because these are very nice. I like them. I like them already, right? Now we're going to fill in the bottom, and then we're going to do a little bit of mushing, right? You got to take that and you got to mush it up. Pushing a little bit harder down here. See, I'm trying to kind of smush the paint to where it looks like got a little bit of darkness, maybe a little bit of light at the base of those trees, just dragging them up a little. That's all we got to do. And then come in here and the same thing that we did with our mountains, but this time we're just going to go straight down. Come up and go straight down, and then up and then down, and then up and then down. Each time we're blending in all this paint with the bottom. Now, we don't want to have them be exactly the same height, so I tend to come down a little bit, and then I'll come up and then down, just like a heart monitor, just the same way we do the trees initially. Right? All you got to do is make it so foggy and misty underneath there that you can't tell where the base of those trees are. Maybe they're way down here, maybe they're up a little higher, maybe they're up a little higher, maybe it sits on a little hill out there. Who knows what's happening, right? Doesn't have to make sense yet. You just want to be able to have that mystery. What's going on way back there? Nobody knows. Nobody knows yet. So we'll come in here, maybe we'll make one of these guys like a little, just like the granddaddy of the forest tree. You know what I mean? He's been out there, he's seen all there is to see. We'll kind of make a little tree shape and then mix in a bunch of little things right next to him. Same thing. Come back in, and then we'll tap it down. Don't have to use a 2-inch brush. You can if you want, whatever one's more comfortable for you. You know what I mean? You don't have to use the same one I'm using. You can use the 1-inch brush. Then we come down in here, and you can see where I'm placing these trees. I'm not putting them all the way up into my snow, because that's going to be very hard to get rid of. If they're all the way up into my snow, you're going to have all this thick paint on top of that thick paint. It's never going to all stick the same, right? So you've got to be careful about where you place different things on top of your other thick areas, right? Now, let's say maybe off in the distance, maybe there was another little piece. Let's mix up a little bit more. I'm going to do it right here on the brush. See how this old PaintWithBram brush can handle it. Right here on the brush, baby. We're going to come in, make it a little bit darker, a little bit more blue, a little bit more black than the crimson this time. And maybe we'll have our little space come right out in front. I don't want to have it be too far off to the side. I'm going to stay out of that big, thick, white, snowy area. You don't want to be in there. It's not the best place, right? That's why we made a soft little misty area in the front, so we could come down, come in here, start popping in little things, little bitters all the way down, right? Just another little bit of forest out in front of this bit of forest is all we need. A little bit more of our black, just to darken it up, just a touch. Come down in here, just crisscross right into that little bit of mist is all you gotta have. little distance in between. Remember, these are very far away little bits of trees. We're not going to see every single piece. And then whatever they look like, we're going to come in and mix them or mess them all up. Just smashing, bringing it down. Smash it, bring it down. Bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Right? Got to have all that mysterious mist in there. What's going on? You can't really say. You can't really say what's happening back in there, right? It's really cool. Now, let's get a bit more of that dark color. So we'll mix up our blue, black, and crimson. Bring it down here. Mix it up into our really deep, dark pile. And then start pulling from that to create our foreground trees in front of this thing. Where is it going to sit? Maybe right in between this guy, there was a taller little tree that sat right back here. Just down like that, right? All depends on where you stick the top and then where you stick the bottom. Now, I like to come in and slap against the canvas, right? Creating little branchy bits that poke outwards. And all we're really doing is hitting the canvas and then slapping the branch. Hitting the canvas, slapping the branch, right? Each time we don't slap it all the same. Get a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Well, all I'm doing is doing it back here, kind of behind my hand. I know there's a shadow there, and I try to show you everything I'm doing, right? So that way we'll do a couple everywhere. A few downward, a few upward. Right? Maybe this guy over here, he had a little taller friend to him. And you can see where I'm placing the trunk. It's not all the way over so the branches reach out and touch each other. It's kind of right next to the edge of our branch, right? Maybe on this guy, he's a downward facer. So we can take and turn our brush and tap it out in this little downward Z shape. And then we can go back and fill in the places that we want right here in the middle. You don't want to have all that stuff shining through, right? A really cool little scraggly little tree. You go back and you fill it in around the bottom thick because you're not going to see all the light as it's down here intermixed with that other tree branch and all that other stuff. It's just not going to happen. All right, now let's see where these trees live. Maybe we take them and we start sliding them out this way. Pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down. And start to see where our little bit of land might live right out at the base of there, right? And maybe it might look cool if there was another little bit of a bush or some sort of something. Maybe we had a little guy out here, just a little bent little tree branch out there in the distance, hanging out on the same plane. Now, we can actually take our Bram 1-inch brush. I'm going to kind of wedge the paint up into it like this, kind of scooping into it on the end, and then come up in here and just make an odd shape. Turn the brush, make a weird little bushy shape right in between that guy. Maybe pop one out on the side, right? Come in, make sure you got a lot of paint. You want it to be globby. It's got to be really dark, just like that. We're only using a couple colors. All right, maybe out like here, we take this guy, slide him down. All depends on how we're pulling out the paint and how and when our water is going to come in. If it does, if not, we go back, we add some bits of snow to cover over the top. All depends on what we want it to look like. All right, maybe over here, just maybe we'll put a couple branches off of that guy too. It'll be really cool. Maybe off of this guy, we had another little bit, maybe right out there. A little smaller little tree. Again, we're going to come in, we're just going to slap against the canvas, and the more that you go down, the more that you push against it, the more you make a cute little tree, right? The bigger slaps and the bigger that you spread out, the bigger your tree's going to be. All depends on where you want to have stuff, right? Because then you can come back in here, and all of a sudden we can connect these little areas of land just like that. Maybe you got a far off little bit way back in the end. Little tiny little guy, come back, grab some more paint. Let's give him a little friend, a little bit bigger of a little bigger friend over here. Maybe he lives next to him on this side. I'm pulling it down. Don't have to make the trunk all the way down. I just do it to help guide me. Come in, we'll slap up against this tree, making it very thick. So you have all those little fingery bits that are hanging off of the canvas waiting to come collect. Like, hey, bring me that highlight. I'm here to collect on that highlight, man. Right? Do the one side and then we'll come back, I'll do the other side. Back over here, just smacking in and then popping outwards every so often. Make our little tree shape. Nice and dark, nice and crazy. Just like that cold little winter scene. I can feel it already. Now, we don't want to pull down and make it too steep, right? You never want to go just like a 45-degree angle. It makes it look like it's sitting on top of this crazy old thing, which we don't necessarily want. Just like that, guys. That's a cool little piece right there. That's cool. We'll go back and highlight these guys. Maybe we'll do one more. Maybe we'll do one more little guy, right? Let's get some of our black and blue together. right onto the brush. A little black and blue, that's all you need. Especially for our super foreground tree up here. Let me get this guy. We're not gonna go down too far because I know where he's gonna be. But maybe, just maybe, we'll try a downward facer. All right, we'll come down over there, crisscross, stop, over, 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 over. And down in here, we're gonna eventually fill it all up, right? That's pretty much all we're doing. You make that little bit of a tree shape, right? You go back, come back to your tree, start filling it in little places. Doesn't all have to be the same, right? Doesn't all have to be the same amount of darkness, but you want all those real thick, chunky little bits that are sticking off, waiting for our highlight. They're like, hey guys, I'm here. What's happening? Right? Pop a little thing down there. You can go all the way down to the bottom if you want, filling in every space in between so you don't have anywhere else that you can even possibly see. That is the deep, dark shadowing that we want to have, right? Got to have all those deep, dark areas in there. Now, let's go wash off these brushes, and then this guy, we'll slide him out this way. We'll go put in some snowy highlights into our little field. Maybe pop a bush down there and be all good. All good. So let's get the brushes cleaned off. You guys can tell me where you're watching from. What's your favorite last meal? Where are you going to get? Like, we're door dashing. There's only an hour left before the Earth falls into a black hole. So what are you going to door dash? What are you getting? I got to know. You got to tell me in the comments below. Tell me what you're getting. Any restaurant available in your area? Let me know your favorite. So I've got a little bit of my odorless mineral spirits, and we've run it down through our paint. Maybe back in here we can add just a couple little branchies. And drag them off, make them real sharp. Look at that brush, Bram. Nice on the brush, buddy. It is very long, but it does end up making a lot of cool little streaky, sharp little branches back there, which is very cool. I like it. Paint with Josh approved, I'm telling you right there. Of course, it takes some time to get used to, but it's like that with any new brush. It's going to have time to get used to how it feels and what it's going to react like and how much pressure to give it and all that stuff. All right, let's see here. Now, we're going to need a little of our liquid white and a little of our bluish color in order to create our shadow. So we'll get our little liquid white, pop it into our blue mix up here, which is our phthalo blue and our Prussian blue together right next to each other. Just going to dab it on there until we have that same sort of light blue that we had for our mountain shadows. And then if all of our light is coming off of this side, we're going to go to touch our blue only on the right side of the tree. Not trying to cover every single piece, right? Couple little bits. Switch it. We're going to go upwards on this guy. Couple little smacks into our tree is all we need. Don't need to highlight everything. Don't need to every branch doesn't have to have a little blue bit on it. Doesn't have to have a little white bit on it when we get over there either. All depends on how you want it to look. Maybe this guy over there. We're going to come in, a couple little taps. Again, not trying to cover up all of the dark shadow. That's why we put it up there. We don't want to smoosh it all, right? You come up there and you're gonna go, oh, it doesn't look right. Well, you kind of covered up all of our blue shadowy bits, right? Off of this guy, just off the back, just on a couple little things. Doesn't have to be all blue. You know what I mean? Just a couple little pieces, and then we'll go back and we'll add our highlights to it. Look really cool. Now we're going to go back into our liquid white and into our titanium white, because you got to have a mixture of both on our brush in order for it to stick. Let's come back over here, and we're just going to touch off of this guy, right? Just kind of back and forth, not trying to light up every single branch, here, there, and everywhere. Maybe so often you go back, put in a couple more, crisscross over into our blue side, because it can't just be a perfect straight line. Got a cool little thing right there, right? Come over to this guy, little tap. Little touch off his left side, kind of creating a bunch of little branches out there. The snowy little lights, fantastic. Over here, maybe we can get away with it on a little bit more onto this brush. Couple little taps, little things. Didn't get a whole lot of the tip top, right? Because there's not a lot of paint up there to use on our brush. On this guy, on the other hand, though, we may be able to get a couple come off here. Nope, let's go get some more. Let's get some more paint, right? Whenever you start transferring too much of that dark paint onto our light paint, that's a big deal. That's a big old deal. It's going to cause an issue. So let's go back in, a little bit of our liquid white into our titanium white. Come back over, little tap, little slap, tap and slap, tap and slap, right? All you gotta do, remember, it doesn't have to be a perfect straight line. So maybe we come across in different places, not getting everything, leaving some shadowy bits of our tree. And we'll come over to this guy, we're gonna light him up. And we're just gonna come off the edge, keeping our angle of our brush right as well. It's not about just doing it. See how I'm dipping down? I'm not turning the brush, I'm not moving my wrist upwards. I'm following it and following it down that way. You have to do that. It's all about the angle of the brush sometimes. And doing it like that versus kind of moving your brush. You're gonna have a different angle of the brush, and that's not gonna work. That's never gonna work. Come across our shadowy side just a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Got a couple wicked looking snowy little trees out there. Now, let's get some snow on the ground in our instance. Some snow on the flow. With our PaintWithBram 1-inch brush, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna grab up some snow. And our light white snow is gonna come from this side, and it's going to get darker each time that we push on it. So we gotta go back, grab up a little bit more, come down, pull it down over those little shadows. It's gonna start to blend and mix. The more that you do it, the more it's gonna mix, right? Now, where you have this little bit of kind of harsh line in our bushes, take it, swipe it back up into there. It looks like it just skirts it right up underneath those trees. You get a little shadowing, get a little action down in there, right? Dragging it down. That way we don't have any harsh brush lines. Very cool. Add a little bit of blue snowy paint on this side. So a little bit of blue, a little bit of our white, just a little. Don't need to have a super bright, right? There we go. That's what you want to see. A little bit of blue, a little bit of light into our little trees. Again, swiping them back up, on skirting them up under those little trees. Very cool. Little soft bits, little light bits. Really neat, guys. Really neat. Now, what if, just what if, I mean, maybe it might look bad, but what if we did like just a couple little, I love these little like four-wheeler trails that run way out there. And I mean, you get lost out there in the distance. Something like that. Go across, make them soft, right? The more you push on them, the softer they'll get. So you can kind of drag it away, just like that, soft little thing. Go across the whole thing, bending the bristles, dragging some of our snowy color down across, and all of a sudden you got a little, maybe it's a snow-covered railroad track. Maybe it's a little wagon cart path off into the night, into the distance, wherever it is. It's gonna look really cool. Really cool. I like this one, guys. Well, super easy little painting. Let's get her signed and done. We're gonna grab that monster PaintWithBram brush again, that liner brush. It is humongous, this liner brush. If you haven't seen it, it's only about, I don't know, 6 inches long, those bristles. I'm just giving Bram some crap. I love this brush. It's very cool. Very cool. Again, you gotta be careful though. Very wiggly. Maybe we come up here, a little touch. Woo, that's very nice though on the birdies, Bram, I gotta say. Birdies approve of the Bram brush. Let's come over here. We'll sign it on the bright side. Just like that. It does take some getting used to though, because you touch the brush and it doesn't move when you move. You kind of have to move a little bit further than what you would normally move because the bristles are so long. But it's freaking nice. And I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. I'm saying it because it's the truth. Unbiased review, the bristles are very long on this liner brush, but if you can get used to it, then it will provide some wicked sharp lines. So just gotta get used to it, that's all. Just like every other new brush. Come back and get used to it, right? Very neat. All right, let's get rid of this. Let's finish this one up. We'll say goodbye, and it'll be a fantastic time. So I cannot wait to see your versions of this painting. You know what? I almost forgot a little bit of our little mix there. A little of our titanium white on our 1-inch brush. A couple little taps. That's it. Don't want to cover up too much. A couple little taps. Leave that darkness in there. Very nice. Man, this one came out awesome. I cannot wait to see your version of this painting. Make sure you send it into my Facebook page, facebook.com/PaintWithJosh. And until I see you guys again next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. Yeah, bye-bye. Hey guys, PaintWithJosh back in the studio. Man, it feels good to be back home from Tennessee. Stupid. whatever we do. All right. Hi, I'm Paint with Josh. So, I cannot wait to see your versions of this painting. You know what? I almost forgot a little bit of our little mix there. Well, guys, this one came out fantastic. I cannot wait to see your version of this painting. Can't wait to see your version of this painting. It came out fantastic. And until I see you guys again next time.